Hello boys and girls! Today we'll be exploring the urban legend of the Philadelphia experiment and uncovering all the mysterious elements and unbelievable stories that go along with it. It is said that during World War II, the US Navy tried to make a warship invisible as a strategy against German submarines. What is known about this? What was the experiment like? Did it really happen? So let's start now. It all began with an unsuspecting gift of a Happy Easter box in 1955. But what was inside sent shockwaves throughout the US Navy. Inside was a book by Maurice K. Jessup, an astronomer and Inca archaeologist that had recently published a work of minor claim, The Case of the UFO, Unidentified Flying Objects, revolutionizing the world's belief in extraterrestrial life. Who knew an Easter present could bring such a chaos? When this peculiarly written book was inspected, it was clear that it was no ordinary copy, with conversations between three odd entities, taking up the margins in bizarrely different colors. Aliens spoke of their universe, journeys between galaxies, and techie stuff about flying saucers. And what was craziest of all was how it mentioned the mysterious Philadelphia project. Whoever was given this book must have been sure it was a big joke, but it just goes to show. Who knows what secrets or reading or viewing material may actually be hiding. It was later discovered that the sender of the box was a man called Carl Allen, who also used the pseudonym Carlos Miguel Allende. Who was Allen? He was a merchant, seaman and crewman on an American warship during World War II. Allen began writing letters to the author of this book, Jessup. In fact, he would comment on the content of this book by referring to these extraterrestrial conversations. But he did not seem to get the attention he was looking for, until he talked about the Philadelphia project and told the ufologist about his experience on 28 October 1943 in the harbor of Philadelphia. As it turned out, Allen was on board an American warship. From his deck, he saw the Eldridge, a 200-man destroyer, disappear before his eyes, and that was the beginning of the myth. According to the book, the Philadelphia Naval Base, which currently houses decommissioned military ships, was chosen to conduct the alleged experiment. To give some logic to what we're talking about, it is known that the so-called Philadelphia experiment originated in an obscure US Navy project called Project Rainbow. It all started between Dr. Franklin Reno suggested to the US Navy the possibility of making warships invisible to radar, but not to the human eye. Reno based his proposal on Albert Einstein's theory of relativity and the relationship between electromagnetism and gravity. Thus, it was possible to make a ship invisible to enemy radars by enveloping it in an electromagnetic ring. Yes, that alone made the idea seem completely insane. They hired private technicians who installed powerful generators without knowing what they would be used for, surrounded the hull with thousands of feet of electrical cable, and equipped the USS Eldridge with complex electronic devices. The date chosen for the test was July 22, 1943, and it seems to have been a relative success. When the generators were activated, the ship was shrouded in a kind of greenish mist and suddenly disappeared from the radars for a second. The project went well, but the crew often complained of nausea, vomiting and dizziness. So it was decided to make some small changes to fine-tune the technology. On October 28th of that year, testing began in a Philadelphia shipyard, and it was truly something to behold. The USS Eldridge giant generators started up with an impressive roar that could be heard from miles around. A thick green mist began to rise from the ship, and a brilliant blue flash lighted up the sky. Suddenly, before everyone's astonished eyes, the USS Eldridge vanished as if by magic. What had happened? According to Allen, the Eldridge had gone on an extraordinary voyage. It became invisible, magically teleported to Norfolk Harbor in Virginia, an impressive 600 kilometers away, and even went back in time, 15 minutes to be exact. Let's not forget to mention that the USS Eldridge took a prudent approach to its travels, avoiding crosswalks and deserts, and appearing instead in a cozy port. Talk about a wild ride. After being there, it reappeared in its original location, in the Philadelphia shipyards. But what about its crew? Where were they? Before the ship embarked on its fateful journey, it was utter chaos on board. Sailors were falling over, spontaneously combusting, and as if it wasn't enough, some of them even vanished into thin air. It was almost like a scene from a movie, with all these extraordinary occurrences. Not to mention, the tracks they had left on the sea's surface completely disappeared. Talk about a disappearing act. It was then that Carl Meredith Allen told and brought to light what happened that day. According to him, when the USS Eldridge successfully disappeared behind the blue beam, everyone watching from a distance suffered from nosebleeds and dizziness. But the worst part happened when the ship returned to its original position at the Philadelphia shipyard after a few minutes. 5 crew members were fused to the metal structure of the ship. Other sailors had lost part of their bodies, arms, legs, and so on. And in addition, an inexplicable and dantesque event which, according to the story, the army tried to hide immediately, but which cost many of them their lives. The complaint was reported years later, in 1956, at which time he used the pseudonym Carlos Allende and sent 3 letters to astronomy professor, mathematician and ufologist Maurice K. Jesup to publish what had happened. He also explained that many of his shipmates and crew members aboard the USS Eldridge had disappeared before his eyes, as if a light had suddenly dematerialized them. Others were locked away in psychiatric institutions, driven by an inexplicable madness. Was Seaman Alley's attempt to denounce it of any use? Yes and no. Thanks to him, we know what happened in October 1943, but no one could prove that Project Philadelphia actually took place. The US Naval Institute has very little graphic documentation of the USS Eldridge. The ship itself was dismantled in 1951 in Greece and rebuilt under the name Lyon HS. Maurice Jesup, the scientist who received Allen's letters, was soon found suspiciously lifeless in his car on the Florida highway. And what about Seaman Carl Meredith Allen himself? He sadly ended his life, as many of his Navy buddies were eyewitnesses to the Philadelphia experiment, declared insane and locked away in an asylum. Today, the US Navy maintains that such an experiment never took place, and that what happened on the morning of October 28, 1943 exists only in the minds of those dedicated to conspiracy theories. To this day, the Philadelphia experiment remains one of the most enigmatic and mysterious events in history, with no concrete evidence or documentation of it ever having occurred, making it a source of fascination for conspiracy theorists and historians alike. Are you confounded by what happened to the USS Eldridge? It's sure to leave you scratching your head and floating around in the mysterious, enigmatic green fog of the unknown. What's your opinion on the matter? Let me know if you are interested by other types of topics like this, and I'll prepare a new video about it. See you next week on this same channel. Bye bye!